There was once a student in my school who was shy, cunning and always happy. He was an average guy you often see in school. However, everyone is wary of him. He's pretty creepy in that he hides in the corners of our classroom and always goes out at night. Regardless, I never doubt him on anything as he was my classmate and a good friend. We would bond together every lunchtime, talk about our interests and share our secrets. Eventually, I treated and perceived him as a brother. One day, one of our classmates teased him for being shy and passive. As his best friend, I protected him. I told everyone to fuck off and that they want to be suspended in school for bullying. Expectedly, everyone followed as I was the leader of the organisation. Anyways, he thanked me for that and asked if I could come to his house for dinner, and I agreed. During dinner we laughed and giggled a lot until we were completely finished. He went to bed and I was about to go out of his house when his mother held my hand and thanked me for being the inspiration and the best friend of her son. She said that all those years he'd never had a best friend like me who supported him despite his flaws. Of course, I just smiled and said, "It's been my pleasure." A few days had passed and I met my ex-best friend on a bus while the current one was sitting beside me. I expected him to be a bit jealous as he usually does when I talk to somebody else, but surprisingly, he just smiled. After that, my ex-best friend invited me to have a visit to his house. He also asked my best friend, but he declined, saying that he had something to do or something along those lines. I've never found it suspicious, but more like a weird instinct. Regardless, I trusted him not to be jealous, and I expected him to understand that I can have other circles of friends too. Monday morning, when I entered our classroom, he surprised me with a big warm hug. He gave me 2 flowers that are odd, because he never does that to anyone, not even his family. I accepted the flower anyway. The next day, I'm waiting for him in the shed near the school to arrive, but a few minutes had passed and there was nobody. I figured that maybe he was already in our room, so I decided to head off and found that the seat was empty. I waited for a few minutes, thinking that maybe he was late. But the next thing I knew, there was no sign of my best friend. I'm starting to worry because he would never be absent from a school day, ever. So when the classes were over, I took a ride on the last bus towards his home. I arrived there around 5:20 p.m, but his house was closed. I tried to open the back door, but there was no people, no signs of life. I'm now becoming a bit anxious until I called his cell and, well, it rang and rang and rang and it was him. He was inside the house. So technically, he was there. At first I thought he was sleeping, but suddenly someone picked up, and it was his mother, telling me where my best friend was. I felt my heart drop on the ground knowing that he hadn't been in the house the whole time. He'd been missing for 48 hours. We waited for a while in hopes that he would arrive, but we failed. That's why his mother suggested that we should approach the police and let them handle this situation. I told her that I would remain in the house to safeguard while she was gone, and she agreed. I tried everything I could to retrace my best friend's footsteps, such as calling his old friends, but I figured out I'm his only friend, throughout his life. Desperate for hope, I asked the neighbourhood for evidence, but to no avail. Eventually, I got tired of waiting and I fell asleep on the sofa, and when I woke, the house was dark. I figured out that maybe his mother had arrived home and turned off all the lights, then decided not to bother me whilst I slumber. I got up in my position and proceeded to turn on the lights. There was a glass of juice in front of me. His mother probably prepared the dinner. I just yelled, "Thank you, Mrs. Griffin, for dinner, but I'm not hungry. I should probably get going now," but I didn't hear a response. I walked towards the door with blurry vision and I noticed that the door of my best friend's room had red stains on its coating, and it was wide open, like someone had broken it. I don't have time to know because I'm exhausted. My parents are now finding me at that time, so I left. When I was about to close the door, I saw a silhouette of a familiar person in the staircase. The person was holding something long, but I just proceeded to the door, thinking that it's probably his mother. In the morning, I was bombarded with 20 missed calls and 35 unread messages coming from his mother. I opened one, and the message said that the police are investigating the whole house and the area because his mother arrived home to a person's body. I presume that the person I saw on the staircase was a killer and had murdered my best friend. That's why the red stain splattered in his room. It didn't make any sense, I asked myself. Why would a killer leave an opening for me to eat? Why didn't he kill me too? I felt devastated to know what had happened to my best friend, but to reassure myself, I chatted with his mother, asking if my best friend was the body. She responded, "No," automatically. I feel a sudden drop in my heart. His mother then responded, "It was the body of somebody else." My stomach cramps and my head throbs. I'm now in a state of horror. I can feel my tears accumulating in my eyes. My fingers aren't able to move. I can't believe what I saw. If my best friend isn't dead. So, what's the explanation? They found the stranger's body inside his room. I gathered my thoughts up, retracing the clues, and then I realised something. That his mother and I didn't see coming. It occurs to me that he wasn't the victim. He was the killer, who murdered that person in the room. That's why the shadow I saw was so familiar. It was him, my best friend. His mother then said there was food left on the table near the sofa. The forensic team examined it and found out that it was poisoned with high levels of diazepam. One bite would knock someone out cold. I fell to the ground, unable to grasp the revelations. I just swallowed. Thankfully, I didn't consume that dinner. The following message said, "I can't believe my son would do such a thing. I hope this is the last time he would do something terrible." And the next said, "They found notes in his drawers." She sent them to me via a series of pictures. It read as follows: "Sometimes I wonder how it feels to kill somebody and torture people, to slit someone's throat, to bash someone's head in with a rock, to gouge someone else's eyes out, to spill all the guts of a person in the ground, and tear a person's skin off. I imagine the dark red blood dripping on the floor. Imagine the scream of help and dying whilst you are killing a person." And the following image was about me. It reads, "I love my best friend very much. I've never had somebody like him before who is supporting me. He's thoughtful, beautiful, and most importantly, affectionate. However, I don't like him when he talks to somebody else. I wonder if I lock myself inside my room, he would never leave me again. He would never interact with people. Thus, he would be by my side forever." I felt sick to my bone after reading this note. Now, I believe that despite how close you are to a person, you never really know what his or her intentions are or where. Regardless, they never found him, and the police are desperately trying to arrest him. Months had passed. He was still in hiding, but I constantly feel his presence wherever I go. Until one day, when I woke up in my room, and I was greeted with a bloody corpse in front of me. It took a while to figure out who it was. It was my ex-best friend. He killed him. I yelled so loud, but nobody heard me. I tried to escape, but I couldn't grab the door. I was utterly traumatized. Then I saw a message on the wall saying, "You will always be my best friend and no one will ever have you. No one." Written in blood. And from that moment, I never had friends anymore.